All right, so you know that I like super dark coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You know that I like espresso.
Yeah, but espresso, you're supposed to have like a small amount of it.
Right.
Unless you do the whole like Americano.
Okay. See, no one told me this.
Okay.
I was yesterday days old when I figured out what an Americano was.
No, you're not.
I'm serious. I was around the corner and I was like, I want something darker. You know me. I want like the darkest coffee you have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want like water strained through it. I just want you to like grind the beans and put them in my mouth. Right. Like
a baby bird.
Yeah. Like I can't stress. Like I do not like garden variety. Like I'll drink it. Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to coffee.
Yeah.
No one, not a single person told me, hey, you know, if you got an Americano, it's espresso with hot water.
Right.
And I was like, I will have one of those, sir, please. And now I am on the Americano. I'm officially on the Americano.
Have I made you Cuban coffee yet?
I enjoy Cuban coffee.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, the only time I have it is when I go to Miami, and I haven't been to a Miami game. And
you get it with sugar?
I get it I get it whatever the way they tell me.
Which is typically with sugar.
Right?
So,
but sweet. There's like milk too.
No, that's a cortado.
Okay.
That's with milk.
Different.
Basically, it's Cuban coffee espresso with milk.
Okay.
That's what that is.
So the only time I have that is when I go to Miami.
Yeah.
The University of. I should clarify, not, South Beach or something.
Okay.
So
we don't have a
Versailles, as they like to say there.
Versailles.
No.
It's Versailles. So is this why you're jacked up?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been basically freebasing it since yesterday.
Are you ready? Clearly.
Are you kidding?
Clearly.
I got bars.
Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovias inside Eford Studios, downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Get that print assessment today. You don't want this eating into your budget in 2024. Print costs are sneaky, and you can move your documents to the cloud thanks to our friends over at Copiers Plus. Again, check them out online at copiers-plus.com. So we talked to North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein last week because they dropped this lawsuit on the NCAA, and you and I were happy to talk to Josh. And we're like, okay, well, what are you trying to accomplish? This shouldn't be. These rules are arbitrary. They should just be able to do what they want. And North Carolina was joined with some other states. And then sure enough, yesterday afternoon, there was a temporary restraining order placed on the restrictions of second-time transfers. So, again, it's a temporary restraining order. I think on December 27th, they're going to hear it again. But I guess for 14 days, it's kind of like the purge. All transfers are legal. Spencer Hall, every day should be Saturday, Channel 6, the Shutdown Fullcast, floated, could we get a bowl transfer? A guy just decides right now, I want to go play in a better bowl game. I'm going to leave my team right now, and I'm going to transfer to this team. Actually, the temporary restraining order will be up by then, by December 27th. We can't have somebody like Jim Harbaugh going, we could really use a guy like you in the college football playoff. Why don't you come on down? So I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, but it opens up the door for some madness, I guess.
It sounds absurd, but that's where we are.
It is.
And I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know why the states have gone after the NCAA on this particular case.
Because it's easy.
Number one, I don't know why. Usually there's something behind this. And number two, I don't like that all of a sudden they snap their fingers and all of a sudden now you're allowed to do this. Where is this energy when it comes to the players making money?
Mm-hmm.
That's the energy I want to see. And there was a lawsuit filed, and Dwayne Carter, a Duke defensive tackle, is involved in that lawsuit. One of a handful of current athletes who are suing the NCAA, saying they have the right to the money that these schools are bringing in through their media deals.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey Kessler is behind it. And that's the lawsuit I want to see snapped and Thanos into action. This one, I'll be honest with you. I gambled on a Creighton UNLV game last night. UNLV ended up pulling off an upset.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those classic, hey, Joe, maybe do some homework. And it was like, oh, so-and-so's brother is now magically eligible. And I'm like, awesome. This would have been a great information to have, 2 hours ago when I drove to Virginia. Right. But I took it that way. I took it more of that way. That guys who were sitting out are now play. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking.
Oh, I'm thinking
of the next chaos. Level brain of Drake May going to play for.
Yeah. If you're Drake May's like
not Michigan because they have a quarterback
or Tess Walker. Like I don't want to play in the Mayo Bowl, but what would look really good for me right now?
Yeah.
If I was with Texas.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I'm stammering because it didn't even occur to me.
Well, because
this idea, I did see the coaches, the anonymous coaching quotes, either Nicole Auerbach or one of the other people who cover college football nationally, saying that there were a lot of irritated coaches because they didn't go through the list of players who had already transferred because they're like, well, we didn't think we would be able to get them. I hate all of this in the sense that. And we talked about this with Josh Stein. Like, I don't think you should be able to play for, and we're going to see this with Wake Forest and NC State. I don't think you should be able to play for Duke basketball this week and Carolina basketball next week. I don't like that.
Well, I don't
even like it year to year.
I think that is an extreme way of putting it. It's just a fun mental exercise. I have zero issues for somebody playing a season somewhere and then the next season going somewhere else. And if it not worked out there, coach gets fired, whatever it is, you get to go somewhere else.
Okay, take the coach element out of it, though.
I'm just saying there's any number of reasons why you might not want to go. And look, David Hale at ESPN succinctly put it that the NCAA continues to lose these arguments in court because they keep trying to act as though these are normal students.
Right.
And when you allow normal students to do whatever the hell they want, but then you don't let the student athletes do what they want. And again, they're getting a scholarship. Yeah, a lot of people get scholarships to universities. It's not just athletes who get scholarships to universities. You get academic scholarships, all sorts of stuff, right? But none of those people are held to the same restrictions that athletes are. And this is where you get to the Dwayne Carter story. If you want this to stop happening, and to answer your question, why is this happening? Like, why are they going after the transfer portal thing? Because it's easy. It's a layup. All right.
Obviously, they literally snapped and it happened.
This is Mario level 1-1. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to stomp on a Goomba. I'm going to get to the end. I'm going to jump on the flag. Cool. And then it starts getting harder. Right. And I think that's where the Dwayne Carter story comes into play. And he released a statement. Luke DeCock wrote a story about this on the News and Observer. And you and I talked about, we should get Dwayne Carter on. He's not doing any media because the lawyers don't want him to do any media, and I'm not sure even if Duke wants him to do any media.
It's not Duke's choice.
He's
not suing the NCAA.
He might be being nice. He might be being nice. So here's the quote from Carter.
I was disappointed when they did, where he wouldn't talk to Luke, and not because it was Luke. You are trying to change something. You don't. That doesn't happen in silence. You have to get out and as we've talked a lot about, get your messaging out there.
So here's the statement that was given to the News and Observer. It's time for the NCAA to recognize that the rules prohibiting athletes from sharing in the massive revenues we help generate are harming all college athletes. There are hundreds of people involved in the NCAA, but the only ones who cannot be paid are the athletes. I'm proud to stand up for all college athletes to correct the injustice. In Luke's story, he adds Duke would not let the media speak to Carter on Saturday. This is during the Manny Diaz introduction. And whether Carter asked for Duke for that protection or merely went along with the university's wishes, he seemed okay with it, but his time in the spotlight is coming, and it will be extremely bright. And I think he's perfectly capable. Carter is perfectly capable of handling this sort of thing. And that's where we're headed. I can't stress this enough. You hate how college athletics is operating now. There are solutions to it, but the solutions involve money. And these universities are like the Chappelle bit when he was married to Oprah and he has the cash laid all over him with the little crown on and he's clutching to that money. That's the NCAA right now. Those are the universities. We can't give up this money because how are we going to give the strength and conditioning coach $250,000? How can Nick Saban...
$1 million.
I forgot in the SEC they get $1 million. To the SEC's point, how can Nick Saban add 5 different quality control coaches for his fired NFL buddies? How can we do that? Well, deal with it, because If you want these rules in place, if you want to prevent the second transfer, if you want this portal stuff to end, well, then you're going to have to give the consideration. I don't know why this is complicated. And it's not like you don't have the money. You do have the money. You know how I know you have the money? Look at your payrolls, not just coaching. Look at the administrative titles that exist, layers upon layers of assistant to and yada, yada, external affairs, associate AD for blah, 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 blah. Man, money's been good for everybody else except for the guys who are actually playing the game. So I don't know why this is complicated. You want X? Well, this is what you have to do in order to get it. In the meantime, we are then still in the mode of portal time. NC State has a quarterback, Joe.
Busy day yesterday.
It was a busy day yesterday. Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina. He had an injury. He basically was knocked out. He was sent to the hospital. He missed the last 5 games for the Kickin' Chickens. He had 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions before that mid-October head injury. But prior to that, he had 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 11 games. You know, he's played well against Power 5 competition. Like Grayson McCall was part of the story of Coastal Carolina when they were running hot, playing some big games. And it comes from not a difficult conference. I know some people might roll their eyes, but it's a competitive conference.
The Sun Belt.
In the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
That is a competitive conference.
Yeah, it's good
so
football.
It's not like Grayson McCall isn't forged in the fires of good football and he can elevate up to the ACC. I'll be curious to see, A, how healthy he is between now and the start of next season, and whether this blip that he had before the injury was a transition to a Tim Beck offense and what they want to do with him at NC State.
First of all, bravo to Dave Doran for playing the long game. Not only getting rid of Tim Beck, but getting him to a place where he then sends in the best quarterback in the transfer portal to NC State. So I tip my hat. That's like 12 DHS. That ain't even 4D. McCall hasn't made it through the last 2 years, which is a interesting flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
He's a runner because he runs as well. And then this is where some of those injuries come in. You cannot absolutely argue with the numbers he put up in 20, 26-3 in 20, the heart of the pandemic. And then the following year, 27-3. Note those last 2 numbers. The most important thing to Dave Doran, don't turn the ball over. Obviously, it is December 14th. You and I are going to talk lots and lots and lots and lots about NC State football between now and next year. When you look at the steaming pile of cupcakes that is coming on NC State's schedule next year, dear, sweet baby Jesus, if they don't at least play for the ACC championship next year, I don't know. Something went horribly wrong, which, as we know from 2021, is certainly in play.
No, it's absolutely in play. Meanwhile, Riley Leonard did the thing I expected him to do: go to Notre Dame. You're a little surprised that he'd not go to Texas A&M with Mike Elko.
I thought Mike would be smart and use some of that new money and say, "Hey, I got a guy who I know could help us." Talked to Steve Wiseman though yesterday from the News Observer. He's like, "Yeah, no, they were planning on losing Riley either to the NFL or to the portal."
Yeah.
Beginning last summer, they knew this was their last kick at the can with him. Notre Dame playing that deep pocket. Let's go get those handsome white boys from the ACC game. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Look, I'm with you on the Sam Hartman thing. Handsome beard out there looking like Peaky Blinders, that sort of thing. I get it, right? Riley Leonard has boyish charms to him. I went back and looked at our interview that we did with Riley Leonard at ACC Kickoff. I thought we were talking to a high schooler, like a literal freshman in high school. And then they put out a video of him going to Notre Dame. He's slapping the play like a champion today thing. And it's like, oh, whose kid is that?
It's cute.
That's a cute kid. Is it like take your kid to work day? Now we
He's
know
a baller.
We know that Riley Leonard's got that dog in him, though.
Baller.
We know he's got that dog in him. And that's going to be interesting. I think it's a good fit for Riley Leonard because of how Notre Dame likes to go about their offense. What is Notre Dame really, really good at, and why they keep crushing ACC schools?
Yeah, they pound you up front.
Bingo.
Hit the play action.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's a good fit for him at Notre Dame.
Next year, we got an expanded playoff. Notre Dame, I'm sure, has a a breeze through.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how that, if he stays healthy. I hope he stays healthy. Obviously, this year was a challenge, and we did not get a chance to really see, but that's the way he plays. So you got to be careful with the quarterbacks like a Grayson McCall, like a Riley Leonard that run. That's a bug and a feature.
Every time we talk about college football, it's brought to you by Wings Over. Check them out in downtown Raleigh, in Chapel Hill, and in Greenville. Check them out online. Put the order in the time you want those wings to be ready. They will be ready. Great flavors. They got specials all the time. New flavors, limited run flavors, and of course, the tots and the waffle fries are top notch.
Well, we have Wings Over Raleigh, Wings Over Chapel Hill, Wings Over Greenville. I'm now wondering if there's a Wings Over College Park. And I mean, you know who this text is from, but quote, since MJ Morris is going to Maryland.
Yeah.
It's such a Maryland football thing. It's such a Maryland football thing to hitch its fortunes to a transfer quarterback who quit on his team after back-to-back late season wins at home. He won't have to worry about that specific problem at Maryland. The Terps are 2-22 in November and December home games since 2011. 2-22.
I had there was an NC State fan in my mentions who said, look, man, I'm not putting it on the level of a guy transferring from NC State to North Carolina or vice versa, but I'm an old ACC guy, and seeing him go to Maryland just bothers me. You think Phillip Rivers went like, how dare you? How dare you?
Phillip with 4 L's or?
Yeah, it's Phillip with 4 L's. Phillip with 4 L's.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me. Good for the Big Ten. Look at Maryland.
Sure. Are they
still good for MJ Morris?
Maryland's going to be one of the first teams kicked out of the Big Ten when eventually they go.
I will just say this: Maryland is obviously not on Ohio State or Michigan's level, but they are the third team in terms of skill level on offense in the Big Ten. So it's actually a good move for MJ Morris.
All right, fair enough. Oh, one other quarterback note, because I was looking around doing some things and looking for stuff to talk about.
It's called research, Joe.
Sure. I call it dicking around on the couch while the TV's on. But Mel Kiper is starting.
I told
Mel Kiper starting.
Don't
Joe.
you say Mel Kiper starting? I started this last year. Thank you.
No, you're going to disagree.
Oh, what'd he do?
He's got Caleb Williams 1.
Oh, okay, good.
But now he's starting the drama of, but who's really number 2?
Oh.
Who do you think?
Disrespecting my guy.
Who do you think his number 2 is now? Who do you think the battle is now with Drake May for the number 2 spot?
I think people are going to be enamored of JJ McCarthy.
No, it's the Heisman winner. Guy who just won the Heisman.
Daniels?
Yes. I know you're making a face.
I saw all I needed to see. And I feel bad. I'm a Heisman voter.
Sure.
I did not vote for you get 3 spots on your Heisman ballot. I did not vote for Jaden Daniels. In total fairness to him, I watched 3 of his games. The first one was against Florida State when he decided to jump for no reason. And I'm like,
I'm not breaking any ground here. I just want to remind people, and I've been saying this for years, and Drake May is going to be a point of fascination because of North Carolina. He's going to be a point of fascination because the Panthers are going to be the ones that are going to have the number 1 pick. That's going to have to go to the Chicago Bears. Yeah. And there's going to be all sorts of what-if scenarios. Shout out to Josh Graham, who's going to be fighting that good fight, that Bryce Young's a better prospect than Drake May. Salute to you, good sir. You die on that hill, man. You go out there. We want you on that wall making that argument, my buddy. So,
Drake May didn't have a great year this year.
He didn't, but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter whether he had a good year or not at North Carolina. People are going to fall in love with him. But this is my point. What Mel Kiper's doing right now, y'all buckle in. Because if we have obvious choices as to who should be number 1, we have to create the week of ... It's going to be the week for this guy. It's going to be the week for this guy. Never forget, we had a Will Levis week.
Yeah.
Where people were convinced.
Well, Levis has been pretty good.
He actually has been pretty good.
Everybody's been good. But the guy they took and turned away the farm for.
Whoopsies. Yeah, they might want to have that one back.
Housekeeping.
Please, if you haven't already, go to ogtrianglemedia.com and fill out the survey. We're going to be wrapping that thing up next week. We'll start going through it and we'll get a better idea of what we want to do in 2024. So that should be a lot of fun. We got some potential events that we'll be knocking out early in 2024. We might be doing a Tecmo Bowl tournament. That'd be a lot of fun. We could be doing a brackets and bourbon. That could be a lot of fun too. But we got to know what you're actually interested in. So head on over to ogtrianglemedia.com and fill out that survey. New
Housekeeping live show Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday we'll be doing a live show from Raleigh Times, the rooftop.
Yeah.
The folks over at Raleigh Times are confused as to why we want to be outside. It's gonna be a lovely day.
Oh, they think it's going to be too cold
or something.
We're like, yeah, we've been in the beer cave. It's fine.
Not even the beer cave. You know what was colder than the beer cave?
No.
The parking lot.
No.
Well, then again, you were lit.
We can get some Colonel Taylor.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were lit in the parking lot. I was freezing. You had a little warm in the belly. You know, you definitely were insulated in that regard. I'm rocking the NC flag tee, hoodie from Breaking Tea. Word of advice:
get a size up.
Size up on this one. Seriously, size up on this one because I thought it was of the same. It's a different type of hoodie. It's more of like a gray sweatshirt type classic gym hoodie, right? It's comfortable. Don't get me wrong. It's still great material. It's comfortable, but it's a little tighter than the other hoodies that are largest. So when I put this bad boy, I'm like, am I going to fit into? Okay, good. I'm a little bit like a sausage casing, but I
thought I still had the Skyhawks one in here. The Skyhawks one, I got XL. I got that one XL. It doesn't fit me.
It doesn't fit you?
The gray XL does not fit me.
All right. Well, pro tip on that one.
Yeah.
Just pro tip on that one. Size up on these hoodies if you're going to get the hoodie. Of course, they got t-shirts and everything else. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority for sponsoring Ovias and Gilio. Bundling is back, baby.
Say bundle up.
Bundling is back. People were like, oh, I'm going to stream this. I'm going to stream that. Oh, it's gotten really expensive. No, bundling. Disney's bundling. And Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority is bundling. So bundle and save. Contact them today. Head on over to bugsbite.com. Again, that's bugsbite.com. Also, big thanks to where are we on my sheet here? Breeze Through. Big thanks to Breeze Through. Speaking of being out in the beer cave, we'll be doing more of that next year as well.
I want to put on my bucket list for 24 to get out to the high house location. That feels like the Taj.
Okay.
Of
do they have a beer cave there?
I don't know, but I feel like there might be like a secret room.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like that thing is crazy fancy.
Maybe something to look forward to in the future. Tossed salad and scrambled eggs. Although that's not the one you wanted.
Quite stylish.
I found two new stingers.
Oh, did you?
2 new stingers in iMovie because I finally updated iMovie.
Mine was off Broadway.
So that's called Curtain Call.
Yes,
that's called Curtain Call. And then you wanted off Broadway, which I ended up putting together this morning. Yeah, it's clearly the end of a show.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay. Yeah, that is big. That's big Frasier energy.
Frasier, but there's also a little bit of Big Man on Mulberry Street, Billy Joel.
That's true. So I am doing research this morning. Go to the Washington Post like I typically do. And I saw this headline. Tommy DeVito, Zach Wilson named NFL's Offensive Players of the Week. If you need a headline to tell you where we are,
not the Onion.
If you want to know what is up with the NFL this season, I cannot think of a better headline. If you football fan, if this were back in August when camps are opening up and you're getting ready for preseason games in September and you're getting hype about stuff, and I told you, buddy, on December 13th, you know who the 2 hottest quarterbacks in the NFL are? Like, oh, man, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers, right? And Daniel Jones turning it around, right?
Danny Dimes.
No. Tommy DeVito, hey. And Zach Wilson, your Offensive Players of the Week. I really have nothing to add. It kind of makes my point for me.
Yeah, Adam Schefter tweeted it yesterday. I mean, everybody did. But
sure.
I was like, is that Adam Schefter or a darn Schefter? Because I didn't quite believe that those 2 guys would be the Players of the Week.
So Cam Newton. So there's 2 subjects here.
Okay.
There is this interesting development of old NFL QBs, guys that are no longer in the league, turning into NBA guys, like 90s NBA guys there's an entire media ecosystem where the old NBA heads go on their podcast, they go on TV, and they say, man, it ain't like how it used to be. Tom Brady's done this.
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger recently just called out Mike Tomlin.
I know. He went scorched earth.
I texted Brooke Pryor. We're going to get Brooke Pryor on in the new year to talk about this stuff. Although maybe we can do it next week if she's got some time.
He went scorched earth. I was slightly surprised by that.
So I sent her the screen grab. Maybe the tradition of the Pittsburgh Steelers is done. And I just texted her, this effing guy. And she's like, yeah, the locker room wasn't exactly thrilled with Ben Roethlisberger's recent take on the tradition of winning just not being there anymore.
How are you going to lump Cam into those two lugheads?
Well, Cam's been doing a lot of media appearances lately, and recently he called Brock Purdy
media.
Well, like podcasts and whatnot. I mean, it's all media these days, dude. It's all scrambled eggs. So he apparently was on one of these podcasts, or his own podcast, and he said, all these guys are game managers. Brock Purdy's a game manager. Tommy DeVito is a game manager. Is he wrong?
Spot the lie.
Right. Is he? That's the question. Like, on its basis, is he wrong?
No.
I have another instance of how you showed me that Brian Dable clip that I don't have. Somebody asked Giants coach Brian Dable if there's a lot of Brock Purdy in Tommy DeVito, and then eventually, like, is he like another Tom Brady? Because people have convinced themselves that Brock Purdy is Tom Brady reincarnate. And Brian Dable's like, are you for real right now?
He wouldn't even entertain the question.
Because
Brian Dable worked with Tom Brady.
Yeah. He's been around greatness. Does Tommy DeVito have that same? That's where we are right now in the NFL. So I don't disagree with what Cam Newton's saying, even if it comes off as, here's this old head talking about how these guys just ain't like it used to be. This got Kimberly A. Martin on Get Up this week to absolutely crush Cam Newton. Here's what she had to say.
I'm just so, honestly, move past the outfit for a second. He literally said, in the year of 2023, where it's all about NFL backups, where is Cam? Not on an NFL roster, right? So he's talking about all these NFL game managers. He sounds like the people literally tweeting at me from their basement, like, get back in the kitchen. Like, it's like you are at home watching me. Just turn the TV off.
Probably in the kitchen.
It just sounds so foolish.
So anyway, that's Kimberly A. Martin talking about Cam Newton complaining about game managers. And it's like, well, if these guys are just game managers, where are you at?
I've watched a good chunk of Cam Newton last couple of weeks on these podcasts. I enjoy it.
Oh, he's great.
The stuff he's had about Sam Darnold and Matt Rule in particular, and Belichick.
Well, I'm
and the difference between like actually being with a real life professional coach. Here's the thing, and this gets to a lot of your points about Cam Newton, that he wasn't appreciated in his time.
No, he wasn't,
for sure. And the reason Cam Newton is not in the NFL is not because he's not. It's because he had a window.
Mm-hmm.
He maximized that window in the way that he played football.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer capable of playing in that style. He was never, ever on a single day of his life a game manager, because that requires having players around him. He never had. He had, for what, 1 year or a half of a year,
mm-hmm.
McCaffrey? I mean, I think they played 1 year together. The year after, right?
Yeah, I think it was the year after.
So,
I have to go back and double check.
Listen, it's disingenuous for people to come at Cam and be like, well, you're not good enough anymore. No, the guy poured it out because he played a very specific style. He also played a way where people were allowed to beat the shit out of him and hit him after the whistle.
He wasn't old enough to get that call, Joe.
Right. So there's a lot of things that you can, and the outfit, stop. Who cares what he wears? I know people have a hard time with Cam when it comes to the stuff that he wears.
You got to remember.
Just stop with the outfit.
If Joe Burrow wore what Cam
he's
Newton
dripped
wore,
out, and
he's dripped out.
Yeah.
I gotta cop that look. But Cam Newton shows up wearing a romper. It's suddenly like, what?
Yeah. And Darren Gant, our friend, tweeted this today again, like, Cam Newton makes people stupid. And
he does.
It's like, you're right.
But
you're right.
But Cam Newton is right about a lot of stuff. You referenced the podcast he recently did with the QB. It's a podcast called The QB Room. It's on YouTube. It's actually done by his old teammate, Kyle Allen. So I thought it was great. Remember, Kyle Allen was going to be like the next big thing because he won some games with Christian McCaffrey running his ass off. and a really
Catching
good
every
defense.
pass. Yeah.
And a really good defense at that time. I remember when the wheels fell off for Kyle Allen. It was against the Atlanta Falcons. I was actually at that game on cheap tickets, and that was an atrocious game to witness in person. But here he is on the QB room talking about the differences. The lead up to this, was clowning Matt Rule, essentially. That when he came back, he found himself in a situation with Sam Darnold, and he and Sam Darnold had some sort of disagreement about, like, I'm the starting quarterback. Like, the way Cam says it, Sam Darnold was very much adamant, I'm the starting QB. And Cam's like, are you sure about that, dog? And it's like, let's talk to Matt Rule. And he realized, like, Matt Rule, I'm coaching the coach. That's how he put it. Like, I'm finding myself coaching the coach. And it leads to this interesting tidbit about his time with the New England Patriots. Remember, his ending at the New England Patriots was not great. Like, Bill Belichick used the COVID stuff to be like, you're out, dude.
Right.
Like, you're out. So here he is talking about the differences between Matt Rule and Bill Belichick, who he ultimately has respect for.
And he didn't necessarily know it. So that spurred off to a situation where I was like, Coach Rule, bro, I would appreciate if we would meet every week. So I'll tell you the dynamic of the locker room, tell you what guys thinking and things like that. Because when I went to New England, it was like a what the fuck moment, right? Like, Bill Belichick is so tapped into his team. He knows everything about it. He knows who's having girl issues. He knows whose girl is pregnant. He knows whose side girl is out of pocket.
Okay, we stop right there. Can we stop it right there?
I could just see Belichick with a note, the pencil in the ear, in the notepad. Like,
oh no, is that his
So-
main girl or is that the side girl? Okay, got it. Thank you.
We're on to Cincinnati.
So he continues.
He knows how much ticket sales is happening. He knows what, like, it was just wowing. He does that because he's tapped into the core landmark players who he respects.
Mm-hmm.
And he just doesn't have team captains just to have team captains. His team captains report the news back to him and say, Coach, hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, Coach. I don't think we should practice this week. Or not practice this week, or practice today, man. Guys are sore, blah, 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 blah. That's not to say that he always agrees with it, but he still says that's something to consider. And then we're going to do it how I advise the team to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Rule was not like that. And he just felt like they will get it. And I'm like, no, bro, that ain't how you do it. So to the situation about C-Mac, if he knew that and had a coach that could really coach the star, and not just him. I mean, I don't think the game in my lifetime will see another C-Mac.
So that's what he was talking about, Christian McCaffrey in that situation. Sorry, I'm still thinking about Bill Belichick going, so was that the wifey, the girlfriend, or the mistress? Okay, thank you. I'll understand how he's playing this week. Okay, we're on to Cincinnati. This gets us to 2 points. Actually, 3. But you come to find out, and I think this comes through in the reporting of what Tyler Dunn had done with the Buffalo Bills and what has been going on with Sean McDermott and, going full, hey, man, you got to hand it to him.
You got to be able to communicate like the Bombers.
Like the terrorists, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a goal. I still can't get over that. He thought that was a good idea. Regardless, there's turmoil. But you start to pick apart, there's turmoil at every NFL franchise. There's all sorts of stuff that are going on. So Bill Belichick isn't the greatest on planet Earth as they're getting ready to fire him, by the way, which will get us to another point in this conversation. So I think this just illustrates once again that there are, in every NFL franchise, there are communication breakdowns, wrong hires, guys who don't get locker room environments, think it's about them not dealing with adults. Matt Rule's a prime example of this. And this also got me to think about the Hunger Games story from last week that Joe Person and Diana Rossini had put together. And it was an opposite problem, whereas Matt Rule wanted everybody to get on his page, and he wasn't, identifying the guys to be their locker room captains, so to speak. Frank Reich either picked the wrong ones or didn't understand that he did not have command of the room as people were going behind his back to go talk to David Tepper. Do you think that Bill Belichick, regardless of what you think of how things have gone post Tom Brady, do you think in that locker room there would be people that would go, hey, man, let me circumvent what Bill Belichick is doing to go talk to Robert Kraft?
There would only be one.
Right.
And
he's gone. And he did.
And he did.
But he earned that.
And he did.
He earned that.
Absolutely.
All right. Tom Brady won Super Bowls. He earned that. So that was, again, hiring somebody who apparently just couldn't have the right, proper command of a room, which gets us to the the Panthers and the Patriots and the end of Bill Belichick and whether or not David Tepper might actually go after Bill Belichick.
I think Bill Belichick, student of the game, wants to finish his career in Washington.
But what if David Tepper, who has been known to be had in terms of like, I'm so desperate to win, I'll do X, Y, Z. I'll overpay for Matt Rule to win. I will go get the right guy and then put this $1 million coaching staff around him, which of course didn't pan out. He's clearly willing to overspend. He's clearly willing to go above and beyond to get the guy he thinks is going to work. So I agree with you on the student of the game aspect in the Washington football team, but could David Tepper actually make a play? And then it gets to a second question. Would Bill Belichick actually be a good fit for what they're trying to do in Carolina?
No, I mean, Bill Belichick's trying to reach the NFL record for wins. He's trying to get to 348 combined wins, regular season, playoffs. Don Shula's record, 347. That's what he's going for. He's not coming back. He's not going to come to Carolina where you don't have a first round pick and you basically have one asset and it's an iffy asset. So it's a difficult situation. Whereas in Washington, keep in mind, Washington just traded away their whole defensive line, is stockpiling draft picks. Whatever we think of Sam Howell, we've always been on team Sam Howell. He's on his rookie deal. You know, he's not Tom Brady, but he's in a very similar contract situation to what Bill Belichick was able to do when he had a quarterback like that, young and slightly frisky, and probably going to do the things that Belichick wants him to do as well.
Every time we talk about the Carolina Panthers, it's brought to you by Graffiti. Check them out in downtown Cary. They got wonderful bourbon, great cocktails, bunch of TVs to watch the games, deals on Sunday, and of course the axe throwing. That's always a fun time.
And to finish the point about Belichick, Rule was throwing a bunch of money. It was a cash in.
It was.
Right? Like, it made sense for a college coach to go from Baylor to the NFL for $7 million a year. Bill Belichick doesn't need money. He's not. It's not about that
That's
for
fair.
him. It's about his legacy and it's about this record.
Speaking of making money, we'll close the conversation on the Panthers like this. This is from Neil Greenberg, who does odds for the Washington Post. And maybe you knew this. Maybe I'm giving you some free money, some easy money. The Panthers are 1-5. What are they? 1-12 right now in the NFL. They'll probably move to 1-13 against the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. As bad as the Falcons are, the Panthers can't get out of their own way. And apparently Vegas has problems valuing the Panthers on the spread. Panthers are 3-9-1 against the spread and have missed covering by an average of more than 5.5 points per contest.
Which is huge in the NFL, yeah.
Right, because aren't most spreads in the NFL like 3.5?
There's a home 3 for most of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like if a team's -6, it's a pretty big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of shows you
home. I mean, particularly the teams that the Panthers are losing to. It's like,
so you take that information and you do what with it?
in theory, you would just go. The real problem is the same problem we're having. What is the motivation?
Oh, they're
like, right? Like,
yeah.
That's how you usually can tell what if they're totally tanked out. You're like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna push that thing up to like 15, which they've been reticent to do because of their opponents.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it comes. Like even today, even this week with the Atlanta line, you know, like, do you really trust Atlanta to go hammer somebody on the road?
Absolutely not.
Right, but
Absolutely
you also don't trust Bryce Young to tie his shoes at this point either. They're just waiting for the red rifle to get back out there.
Jeez. Big thanks to Butcher's Market for sponsoring Ovia's and Gilio new location, Lake Boone Shopping Center in Raleigh. The fries are coming, right?
Sandwiches are coming in the new year. Right now, you focus on those sides. You focus on the all the meats that you love. Focus on the homemade hot dogs. I told you I got the sausage for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Off the charts.
For the stuffing?
Yeah. No. For the lasagna.
Oh, that's right. You did the Thanksgiving lasagna.
Off the charts, man.
I love
Off
that.
the just go in there and pick something. Again, I'll reimburse you if you don't like it. That's how confident I am.
That's right. We have a separate bank account for, you didn't like that Butcher's Market? Here you go. Actually, no, don't take that up because you're not going to have to take that up because Butcher's Market always delivers. Speaking of delivering, you want to sell your home? Got to deliver on that. Try to buy a home as competitive things are. You got to deliver on that. And Hometown Realty can deliver both those things for you. Head on over to myhtr.com and get started today.
Buy, sell, calculate. Know what you're doing. Go with the experts. myhtr.com.
We're going over to Shady's today to go talk to
we are
our
We're
lawyer friends.
See our friend Josh and Joe are doing their podcast today.
Okay.
Their Outlaw Lawyer podcast today. So we will break some brown liquor maybe with them.
Well, I do have to get to Caleb's. Concert
I was
tonight.
going to say, it's a shame that you don't have the hockey in Garner Litch down the street.
Yeah, they never practice in Garner this time of the year. So both Caleb
Do they
and
only put the adults there? Is that what they do? in
No.
Garner?
It's all based on region of where you sign up
Okay.
and what's closer to practice and whatnot. But yeah, the Jacob's not going to hockey practice tonight because he also has a winter performance for his wind ensemble.
Oh,
So they're doing this at Ligon and at Enloe at the same time.
well, they certainly weren't taking the obvious family needs into mind when they said this.
Anyway, go
They
check
did
out
this.
wh.lawyer because I feel like I should have hit up wh.lawyer to be like, can we knock out an agreement
between the two schools.
that you cannot bill me for future therapy based on who decides to go where?
Mm.
So initially, Kelly was right about this. Initially, I said this to her. I'm like, well, why don't we just have the kids decide? We get to see which parent they like better.
Joe.
She goes, so you want to send them to therapy? Is that what you're saying? I'm like, I'm kidding. How do you actually want to handle this? Coin flip? Rock, paper, scissors? No. We brought back the ACC pick and kitten, Joe.
Did you?
Yeah, RIP Roy, the original ACC pick and kitten. We set it up with the two schools and the two kids, and we had Pearl, who is a treat fiend, come out and decide. So the first thing that was selected was Enloe, and then the second thing that was selected was me. So I am going to Enloe for the concert.
Okay.
And then Kelly will go to Ligon. Did you ever have to do this? You and Jess?
No.
Like things just worked out schedule-wise for the two kids all the time?
Yeah.
Dude,
It's
I'm
all
jealous.
good.
We have to make executive decisions. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
okay,
do.
you're going here, I'm going there. It's brutal, man. Maybe I should get that written up in a contract. Head on over to wh.lawyer. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is our friend, CL Brown, up in Louisville. And Joe and I were talking about this, CL, this morning. Like, man, what is happening at Louisville? Like, this guy was going to transfer, but he says, I'm not transferring. And then he's watching this game. He's at a women's game. They're releasing multiple statements. Earlier in the week or a couple weeks ago, Kenny Payne's making fun of one of his players for needing the right compression shorts and kids today. Am I right? And then they go have the audacity to lose to Arkansas State last night at the Yum Center with nobody there. CL, what is happening there?
I don't have a good answer for you.
Louisville knows they're screwing it up for the rest of us, right?
They know. I think, going back to it's a mess, man. It's even hard to know where to start. So let's start with last night. And okay. Karan Davis was one of their signees, junior college kid, came in. He's been missing in action, basically hadn't been on the bench, hadn't been with the team since early in the season. I think the Coppin State game, which was like the second or third game of the year. So every time we asked about him, Kenny Payne would tell us that he's not in trouble. He's good. He's just not with the team right now. And that was the extent of his explanation and what we would get. And so fast forward to yesterday when the first release goes out from the school saying that he asked to enter the transfer portal. That was actually Kenny Payne trying to protect the kid, basically. He had been dismissed from the team. They didn't want to ruin his chances somewhere else or whatever. They wanted to kind of make it seem like it's his decision to leave. And the problem was it wasn't properly communicated with Karan Davis. Had he been in on it, then he wouldn't have replied on Twitter that I didn't ask to be released. I love U of L, And so then they had to come back with a second release, like 30 minutes. Actually, it was like 90 minutes before the game last night to say he's actually been dismissed from the team. Mm-hmm. But it goes to, I wrote the column last night about it. It goes to the messaging from Kenny Payne. It hasn't been on point. I mean, he's, as you mentioned, the whole tight gate, that's something that should have been handled in-house. I mean, of course, those are the kind of things most coaches would tell you off the record after the fact. Like,
Sure.
you're not going to believe what this kid did, man. He didn't want to play because he didn't have the right compression sleeve or whatever, but Kenny said that part out loud. So it did kind of seem like he was throwing the kid under the bus. But the flip side in Kenny Payne's defense was, if he doesn't tell us why the kid only played 3 minutes in a game, and it was Tyler Johnson, who, to me, he started for the first time last night. To me, he's what makes their offense much more efficient. He's like a spark plug. So, but he only played 3 minutes in the first half against Bellarmine, and they were losing. And so my question was, why didn't Tyler play more? And he gave us that explanation. So it's a mess over here, man. There's never a dull moment with this team.
CL, I can understand old college basketball dynamics of why a program hits a lull, right? Like when they had hired Chris Mack, it was, hey man, we're facing these potential NCAA punishments. It's hard to get, high level recruits and bring them in here. And we all know the refrain. Well, what is the issue now in this NIL era where I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, Louisville's got stacks on stacks. So what? Maybe
not as many stacks. Maybe not as many stacks as it would seem from the outside. But yes, they do have the resources. They do have the commitment to go out and do, almost as much as they want to do. But and they signed a good class. Their class was top 10 ranked, including the transfers. But they had one defection, Trenton Flowers, who was their highest rated freshman. He was like a top 30 kid. Like a week before classes start, he defects and decides he wants to go play professionally in Australia. That was a big blow to this class. Not that he would have made. I can't even quantify how much of a difference he would have made, because he would have been a difference maker. But he wasn't like an elite level where he's a one and done for sure talent, and everything would fall into place had he been here. But I think part of the problem going back to last season for Kenny Payne was they still hadn't settled the IARP case.
Mhm.
Did I say that right? Yeah. And so that kind of lingered. I mean, if you remember Roy's teams, when their NCAA investigation, and, he used to say that line, he hadn't forgot how to recruit McDonald's All-Americans, but they weren't coming anymore. So Kenny kind of faced a little bit of that too last year when he was trying to, get a quick class, get a quick influx of talent. So he had to go as is. But aside from all of that, I think this fan base would be forgiving and would be supportive and would believe in him if what you saw on the floor was a product that, okay, we might not have the talent, we might be losing now, but I can see like this team is fighting, this team, is disciplined in what they run, this team will be good later. And right now, you're not seeing that. And so that's what kind of compounds all of this into the mess that it is, because there's really not much hope right now.
And I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody, but so maybe we could just leave this as a standalone comment. But it kind of feels like Nina King a little bit to me. Like, wait a second, you were smart enough to hire Mike Elko, now you're trying to hire Manny Diaz, huh? If Kenny Payne is smart enough to bring Nolan Smith there, why on earth does he have Danny Manning on the same bench with him?
I'm more curious as Nolan Smith texted John Shire, hey, you got any room on that bench still?
Hey, big head.
Right, exactly. Hey, man.
Yeah, it's you're gonna get me in trouble.
I don't want to get you in trouble. I remember they came to PNC last year, and I had completely blacked out on everything going on with Louisville and Chris Mack, and he was such an awful fit for what they were trying to do. But he's, the king schmoozer with Goodman and everybody else. So everybody allegedly loves Chris Mack. Obviously, I don't. I don't think a lot of the people who covered him loved him either. In Louisville, he thought he was too good for Louisville, and that's fine. But they come into PNC Arena last year. I'm looking at the bench, and I'm like, wow. I made the same joke everybody else did. their coaches are better than the actual talent they have on the on the court. Like I'd rather have Nolan Smith and Danny Manning right now than the garbage they were rolling out there onto the floor. Like they just had no talent last year. Yeah. This year, though, I do feel like there's a little bit of an influx, right? Like even without
there is, yeah, and you can see it. Yeah, you can see it in
these losses that they've had the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. You can see it in flashes, but again, it goes back to the reason why I feel like the fan base is kind of lost hope. Arkansas State scored 48 points in the paint last night, and it was in the same manner. They were running pick and roll. Their guards would just kind of hit the corner and get to the rim or get in the paint, and I didn't feel like there were any adjustments made to stopping that. A zone perhaps. I mean, when you can't man up, usually that's the first, that's the throw. That's the easy fix, just to kind of give them something different and make them do something different. And there was never anything that I really saw that I felt like, okay, they're making this move to see what Arkansas State does to adjust. And, they just they just fell flat.
Will Wade, Louisville coach next year?
No.
No?
He's still too no. even for Louisville, that's
even
not.
For Louisville? Hey man.
Yeah.
If Bobby Petrino can go back to Arkansas,
let's think about
Well, Bobby Petrino comes back is the reason why Will Wade can't.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Bobby Petrino went back to Louisville, Joe.
Well, he did do that, but I'm talking about this man. This man broke state laws, and he got back to Arkansas. Yeah. Okay, he broke state laws.
I'll start the movement then. Right, I like Will Wade. I think he's a really good coach.
CL Brown, we appreciate it. We will talk to you.
I thank you guys.
Big thanks to State Farm. Check out Matt Davis, InsureGardner.com, VOGinsurance.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. Talk to an actual person in Garner who's going to save you money. I'm a State Farm customer myself. Been very, very happy with my service. And you could be in the same boat with Matt Davis.
Yeah, give him a call. Save money. Like, I don't know who doesn't like saving money.
Speaking of saving money, we want to save you money on some cool retro-inspired apparel. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG23 to save 15% off your order. Download the app too. There's more ways to save, but get that thing started with OG23 in the promo code. Get 15% off some really cool shirts, hoodies, jackets. The bomber jackets are off the charts. Amazing.
Feels like a theme. Saving money, getting cool things.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that.
Weird.
I do like that. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. Head on over to Oakwood Pizza Box. It's Thursday. They're open.
They are.
Yes. I remembered. Let's go.
Wednesday through Sunday. Every day for dinner.
What'd you guys do on Picks and Pizza?
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, lunch.
What'd you guys do for Picks and Pizza?
We haven't yet.
You haven't yet? Are you taking the equipment when I'm done here?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're picking up and moving the equipment to the governor's mansion next week.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think the governor needs I think Roy Cooper needs some Canes therapy.
He does.
I know they won the other day.
Oh, did you watch? Probably not.
Well, because I was at the Duke Hofstra game.
No, I'm not talking about the Canes right now.
What are you talking about?
The forgotten goalie. We love to do this with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I watched yes, I gambled on it, but it was Montreal versus the Penguins last night.
Yeah.
Do you know who the Penguins goalie is?
It wasn't Fleury, was it?
No, it's Ned.
It was Ned?
And he was like playing on top of his head after giving him 3 goals in the first period.
Jeez.
They came back. Like, mental note, don't ever get into a shootout with the Penguins. They're like rolling guys out there. And I'm like, oh. Well,
the Canes.
That's a problem.
Canes are back.
I had the Canadians at home.
Canes are back. I mean, to give Luke DeCock another reference, because we talked about the Canes with him earlier in the week, and they won, looked pretty good the other night, and a 4-1 victory. Kochetkov was actually playing well.
Looked good.
He had that incredible.
They got Detroit tonight, so
they got that
favorite. Your arena.
I love that arena, dude. I love that arena. But yeah, Kochetkov came out of the crease to prevent the penalty shot. It was an incredible play. Words were exchanged. It was a lot of fun. And Luke kind of sarcastically was like, oh, look at that. Peter Kochetkov plays like his best game. And suddenly the Canes are XYZ. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's a little too direct correlation. You're telling me that Sebastian Aho hasn't functioned the last couple of weeks just because of that? Come on now. This is when your best players have to be your best players. I'm not looking at, you mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but yeah, man, play your game and good things will happen.
It can be easy to oversimplify hockey sometimes.
It can be, I know. I try not to oversimplify. I really don't. And you can get into the simplification two ways. Your goalie has to be good, but also who's supposed to be one of your best players, but the other guys also have to contribute too. And if you kind of know what Peter Kochetkov is or isn't at this point, step it up. Just step it up. Play your game, which is what they did. Now, I didn't watch a lot of that game because I was over at Duke on Tuesday night to go see I had to get my credentials. Ultimately, that was what it was about. I had to go get my credential. So I'm like, all right, let me, caught up with our friends in the press room. Shout out to Aaron Beard and AP, Brendan Marks and Rod, young Connor. Just, hanging out with the crew, having a good time, handing out stickers, handed out some glitter stickers while I was there.
Danny Manning. Connor. Anyway,
I was not expecting Hofstra to look like a team that was going to upset Duke at Cameron Indoor in the first half. They ended up winning that game. And I had the pleasure of sitting next to Josh Graham at that game, our friend over at WSJS. Okay. And somebody actually had caught this photo of where I'm at my phone. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see how Josh is leaned over and yapping at me. And he's firing off. He's basically soft launching, beta testing takes with me. I'm like, Josh, I'm just trying to watch this game in peace, man. Hofstra's giving it to Duke right now. Like, I don't care about your Bryce Young take right now. I don't care.
Much like Adam Gold, there is no off button with Josh.
I don't want to hear I had to tell Josh, your takes on NIL and bowl game participation make you sound like you're 60. How is it that you're sounding older than me? You're like 15 years younger than me. Stop it.
Is Josh even 30?
I think he just turned 30.
Okay.
I think he just turned 30. So, which I know, because you would think, you're 65 based on some of his very unprogressive takes. Anyway,
perhaps I should not have put the water in my mouth.
I got a text from Skinny.
Yeah,
during the game,
Andrew
Carter. And he caught a photo of me that I looked like I was pondering life while I was on press row.
You're like, no, I'm just trying to tune out Josh.
It's really what it was. I was just trying to tune out Josh the entire time.
I spent a lot of time with Adam, and this is how I've perfected the art of tuning out someone sitting next to me.
So I put the image on Instagram. So there I am. Kyle Filipowski's at the line. I'm clearly like not looking in Josh's direction. And I simply asked, what am I thinking? Wrong answers only. And we got some really good responses. I thought I would read some of these. The best response was from AJ, Aaron Rodgers. I said wrong answers only, man. Wrong answers only. From Jay Braze. The more I think about it, that Disney neighborhood sounds amazing. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I also got one from DJ. Can't believe he turned himself into a pickle. Still the funniest thing I've ever seen. That's a Rick and Morty reference. I never watched Rick and Morty. Never a show that I've watched. Adam over at Breeze Through. You're clearly thinking about gas station beers. You're right. I should have gotten a gas station beers on my way back.
Make it more palatable.
From LK, how many mentions of Taylor Swift would it take to get the YouTube numbers up? That is something I think about on a pretty consistent basis. And I actually thought that this was, for real, the best response from Southie. If Aaron Rodgers landed a guest role in season 2 of Ahsoka from Disney, would listeners be okay with an 8-hour-long mega podcast so I can get out all my thoughts?
Well done.
I thought that was pretty good. All right, over to Twitter, where Jeff asks, how much does it cost to produce a halftime show? The ACC network showing old TV segments during the NC State halftime screams broke network. It's called efficiency, guys. Efficiency. They've been doing that a while. They used to do the Packer and Durham. They would re-rack something during halftime. I brought this up simply to bring this up. The ACC network clearly is trying to save money. There's only so many ways they're going to do their thing. Meanwhile, the SEC is getting an NFL-esque schedule reveal, including an appearance on not ESPN, not on Get Up, but on Good Morning America, on ABC, on their, I want to say it's the top rated morning news program, if I'm not mistaken. The ACC would never. The ACC would never get that. So just further examples that clearly the SEC is the focal point of ESPN and not for the ACC. And we'll close on this. Got an email, Joe.
Okay.
Because you can email us if you want. The oggoesdigital@gmail.com. This is from Will in defense of Ovias and the Ninewood.
Oh, Lord.
Will says, love the show. Can't wait to see what's in store for 2024. In some defense of the Ninewood, Dustin Johnson uses, or at least used, a Ninewood as a higher launching, softer landing substitute for his 3-iron. So Ovias has more in common with Dustin Johnson than I do. He also sent me an eBay listing for a 13 wood. He's like, time to put your money where your mouth is on a 13 wood. Hopefully the link works. I'm going to click on this, see what we got. It's a Big Bertha 13 for $75. Dude. Can I put this on the card, Joe?
That's probably not a precedent you would like to set, sir.
You want to buy a freaking scooter?
Well, if golf equipment is in play, that is not a precedent you want to set.
So this is a Callaway Big Bertha 13, 31-degree loft, 2004 women's RH Gems 55 gram graphite or something. But is it left-handed? That's the question. That is the question. I don't see anything about it being, RH, right-handed. I'm an idiot. I can read, so I can't buy that. I need a left-handed version of that club. 13 wood Big Bertha. I'm all in. Anyway, Will concludes. Please indulge my take on the golf discussion from Tuesday. We talked about Liv.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to indulge?
Yeah.
Quickly?
Yeah.
I don't have anybody in my day-to-day life willing to hear shit about golf. So he comes to us, I guess. Because you know me, big golf talker.
Huge.
From a person who has loved playing golf his entire life and loves the history of the game, the only times I ever give a damn about televised golf are the 4 majors and any time Tiger plays. I'll peek on a regular tournament just enough to know who the best players are and what they're doing. Liv or whoever ends up owning the PGA Tour can throw all the money they want, screw with the tournament format or fan experience all they want. Eyeballs on golf and growth in golf, spectatorship has always been directly tied to the dominant players. See Bobby Jones in the 20s, Sam Snead, Byron Nelson, and Ben Hogan in the 30s and the 50s, Palmer in the 60s, Jack in the 70s. The tour is going to need the next person to show up. That Tiger is easily a decade outside of his dominant prime. Is it that simple?
I think you have to have a galvanizing personality as well, right? Like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, they're both guys that you know, people want to root for. Scotty Scheffler, Rory's a guy you want to root for. Scotty Scheffler's, John Rahm, arguably the 2 best golfers in the world. Scotty Scheffler can't putt.
Yeah.
Like, what a curse.
He's got that in common with us too.
Like, what a curse to have that much talent and not be able to putt. Cam Smith is a guy with the mullet a couple of years ago. Bryson DeChambeau is someone who everybody hates, but I expect to have a really good year this year in majors. So, I mean, there's personalities, but there's not a transcendent personality. And I think maybe Ricky Fowler was supposed to be that.
He was supposed to be that guy.
Was supposed to be that.
Yeah.
And
because Ricky had the look, he had all that stuff going for him. Spoke to the Utes. He just couldn't win.
Yeah.
He just couldn't win. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. Enjoy your weekend. We will see you Monday.